So folks, this is the aftermath of letting your truck sit in a field somewhere for about a year and a half before it gets fixed, which was not me, just saying. But we got all this basically portion of the frame that's scaling off, which is, I guess, good old GM rust prevention right there. I'm just literally taking it off by hand. Still enough frame there to make it safe. So there's still good metal, but as you can see, we're definitely looking like a vehicle that was made in Canada. Going around now some fluid film and basically taking it, spraying it on all the stuff that is bolts, fasteners, things like that. I purchased all new lines, soft lines and hard lines, because this thing is an absolute turd. So I got new rotors for the front, gonna need new rotors for the rear, and also likely need some new calipers because these things are roached. And the whole underside of this truck looks like that, which is very, very annoying. But again, it's still solid enough where we got enough metal here that we're gonna be able to fix it and save it. But it's definitely not gonna be worth spending your life savings trying to fix all this stuff when realistically it's maybe got another 10 or 20 years before it is completely gonna be rusted into the dirt. Like every piece of this thing is rusted. I don't know if they put some kind of film on this that's kind of rusted behind it or something, but even this diff cover is like quite literally roached to the point where it's gonna start leaking. Pretty bad. That's what we're looking at here. Our exhaust is somehow holding on for dear life. A couple manifold bolts doing what they do best are broken off, or we got a little bit of leak, but all considering, I'm actually surprised that this thing isn't worse in terms of check engine lights and all the rest. So yeah, our shocks are holding on, kind of looks like they're same kind of situation. It's tough to tell with these, but gonna have to descale this all with a air chisel and then repaint it back up. See a nice damage here that's going on somehow. I guess, I mean, real test of the frame actually not being so rusty that it's completely cooked is the fact that it was in the accident and it still looked straight. So, I mean, if it was able to withstand being crushed on the side there with all that pushed in, then there's a pretty good chance that the frame is still good enough to where the point it's actually gonna hold on when you're driving it down the road. But I think this thing's days of going off-road are probably at its end. It's probably just a pleasure cruiser at this point. This lovely mess going on here. Still kind of solid, but it's all gonna have to get sprayed. It's just at the point where it was caught, where it was still potentially savable. If it was left any longer, all this would be completely toast. Okay, so this is the H2. Got one side jacked up, both the wheels off. Gonna need some new calipers by the looks of it. Got our brake tube kit from Inline Tube, all pre-bent. And got Mel, Best Mechanic, taking the ABS module off, or trying to, from below. And then gonna have to try and run the new brake line somehow underneath the frame. And yes, turning into quite the project, unfortunately. But that's the way these things go. You're in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say. So keep you posted and see how this goes. Got is Our line here is all broken and it's leaking. Plus they also pinched, the previous owner pinched the brake lines on the ABS side. So we'll see what happens. Yep, so we said we weren't gonna cut a hole in the floor, and now we're cutting a hole in the floor. Cut a little bit of the carpet away and doing what we gotta do to make it happen. Did a clean job though, so won't be able to see it from the seat.
I want to avoid this one.
Yes, yep. Pain.
Because if I move here, there's a maybe here only.
Yeah. We can use some methacrylate or something to put another little patch panel down after. So now we've got our hole drilled in the floor, which is a sad day for the Hummer, but what are you gonna do? So ABS module sitting here, gonna have to carefully remove that and then try and cut the lines and put the new lines on through the hole in the floor. So we're making some progress here, getting the lines all out. Got Mel.
Make it online.
Exactly. Make it stop for the YouTube, so there's actually a video how to do it. So basically cutting all the lines off so you can get a socket on there. Now he's doing that. And we're replacing also the calipers as well, because those are all crusty. And then it should actually stop. So that's always a cool thing, is when your car stops. Cut a hole in the floor, doing that. There you go. So update on the progress. This is the now second day we've been working on this. The rear lines were ran them from the back to the front. They're all starting to take place here, getting all lined up in there. I believe now all the lines are on. So that's good. Had to basically put another flare on that stainless steel line and then put one of the factory connectors back. Didn't want to thread out the aluminum on the ABS module, so that's there. And we're now putting on the soft lines. Can be seen here. Rock Auto Special. Other ones on the other side. And as you see, classic mid-2000s Chevy. We got the whole thing covered in rust, and we are basically running through everything now, putting it all back together, buttoning it up. And then I've got new calipers, which I've ordered, that are on the way. So doing that, and then we will see how we make out. But this is gonna end up being probably a 2-week, 2-part project, unfortunately. It's lots of time spent here. If you had to pay a shop to do this, you'd be paying probably more than the vehicle is worth. So unfortunately, had to cut the hole in the floor and just do it like that without pulling the body off the frame. At least it's still somewhat clean, the installation. So when we put the seat back on there, you're not gonna have too noticeable of an issue there with the carpet and stuff like that. Soft lines are ran to the front. That's all connected. Routed all the lines in the factory position instead of basically some people just run them along the old lines. Didn't do that, pulled all the old lines off. Got the brake booster, those lines are all connected. And yeah, so it's coming along. Alright, so now we are knocking all the rust off the back of this bad boy. We're gonna hit it with a little bit of rust paint, having a beer, just, taking our time, doing all the good things. knocked most of the loose rust off. It looks 10 times better, and we will see what ends up happening with this thing. So stay tuned. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, so we had a bad brake line from inline tube. They sent us another one to replace it with. There were some bad lead-in threads on one of the fittings. Got our factory Delco calipers, so that's all good. We have painted up the inside of our frame and everything else with some trim clad paint, so that looks 10 times better. I knocked all the rust off first. It was looking pretty darn crusty, so that's substantial improvement. Kept our rear rotors, cleaned those up. Also painted back here. Again, looks 10 times better. So we got that all going on. And still have the floor to fix after the fact, after we put the new brake line in. And of course, the new battery I bought from Canadian Tire is not holding a charge properly, so I'm gonna have to bring that back and return that. Just terrific. But aside from that, we are definitely making some good progress. Now we're fitting the caliper, and we're going to put some new brake pads on there as well. Rock Auto Special, 10 bucks. Have all of our rotors for the front and the pads, and of course new calipers for them too. And then we got our brake fluid. So we did all new soft lines, all new hard lines, all new calipers. Effectively replaced the entire braking system besides the rear rotors because I didn't want to have to mess with the e-brake. So substantially better. Let you know how it goes out. Now we got a torque wrench, just torquing down the caliper bracket. And we're gonna take the caliper off with the other bolt and then put the pads on. So now the caliper is back on with the old rotor, everything's painted. And now we just have to hook up the remainder of the brake lines. After we run that last one, then of course bleed the whole system. But we are currently now putting on the other brake pads, and also the front rotors are now going on the new set, plus the calipers. So everything's coming out new. Okay, so that's the front all buttoned up. Then we go to the back. Got that all buttoned up now. And then Mel is doing the last caliper, just getting that all buttoned up. Notice it's all painted now, looks a lot better, descaled and painted. Still have a giant dent on the side of the door. And now that's all buttoned up there with our new stainless steel lines from inline tube. So new rotors on the front, we reused the old rotors in the back. And I have the brand new battery hooked up to the battery charger because the thing won't get past like 12 volts, which is absolutely BS. And probably gonna have to go back to Canadian Tire. Anyways, so that's what we're looking at. Now after this is done, we just have to put our replacement line that inline tube sent us that routes to the ABS module up to the front left, and then wraps around to the opposite side, the front right brake. So we gotta straighten this thing out and then do that. And then after that's done, we can bleed it. And then the job is near complete besides repairing the hole that we made in the floor. So now we got an ABS light on and some other stuff. I'm hoping that also goes away when I put the airbag module back in. Can maybe clear the codes. Didn't really mess with anything to do with the ABS lines, so hopefully those are all good. But it's all coming together, folks. There you go. Got it all painted up, looks far better Now it's got some paint on it and descaled. So definitely put some life back into this thing. So now we are bleeding the...
But the fluid is going down.
Yeah, it is. It is going down. I just filled it back up to the max so I can see better. Yeah. And the ABS module we're now bleeding. We basically did a bench bleed of this, which is why I see some fluid on there. And it looks like these lines are holding. So we're just seeing now how long this is going to take to bleed the system. Annoying beeping. So we have got our floor all sealed back up. Ended up using a little bit of a tab to keep this down with, drilled it through both ends, and then also used a bunch of Sikaflex to make sure that there's going to be no water or rust coming through that area. So that's kind of what you're left with after the fact, after you cut your carpet. So it doesn't look too horrible after the fact, especially now once the seat's going to be on there. You're not even going to notice this, the way this sits on here. The rails sit right over it, so should be good. Just got to tuck all these corners back in here, the trim panels. Hopefully don't break anything, because the trim is kind of old on these and likes to break pretty frequently. So we'll see what happens there. But I'll let you know how we do. First drive in the POS Hummer. Got her going. Gauges are working. Of course, we now have a random friggin' cylinder misfire. I don't know if it's because I ran out of gas and it sucks some crap up. Then of course we still have our ABS light. And I've now bought a Tech 2 scanner. So I'm gonna go through with the Tech 2 and see if we can actually fix this pile of shit. So we've got the Tech 2 going. Trying to figure out our misfire situation. It appears we have a misfire on cylinder 7, and then we also have a misfire on cylinder 2. So that is likely what we got going on here. See, we rev it up, whatever else. So let's go down to reset graph. And yeah, we got definitely cylinder 7 misfire going on with the cylinder 2 misfire as well, which is why this thing is running like absolute crap. So I'm assuming we're gonna need some spark plugs, coils, or something of that nature. So now all our lines are installed correctly. Brakes are working again. Have a little bit of a squeak from the front left, but it's probably just to do with something like a shim. ABS light is off as well. Turns out I just forgot to plug it back in, so now the ABS and brake light is solved. And I ordered new coils, spark plugs, and wires to get rid of that P0300 code now that we figured out it's cylinder 2 and 7 that are misfiring. So besides that, we are now basically at the point where the last thing to do is the bodywork. So have a little bit of a rust spot there. Of course, same spot, a little bit of rust here. And then we got our rocker to fix, our door to replace and paint, and do a little bit of tweaking of body panels and stuff like that. And then once that's done, we can try and find the upper trim piece here that's cracked, and then also replace our front bumper lower section that is dented in here. So once we get that figured out, that is the end of the build. Just have to go ahead and clean the thing up and it should look substantially better. But our interior is looking good, our radio's working now. The only thing we have to do is take the mouse nest out of the AC blower motor, and then that should work. frames all painted, front and back. So we've definitely put some life back into this thing for sure. And it looks substantially better than when I bought it, which is what it's all about. Probably gonna also go ahead and repaint these door handles the factory black color that I have. Make sure they all match, because we got some that are black and some that are chrome. And then I've discovered that the rear liftgate will not open, which is a common issue with this thing, to do with basically this not wanting to work properly. So we've purchased a replacement handle with the hardware from Temu of all places. We gotta also fix that, so it's coming along.